Over the last few seasons, Apex's popularity has been flourishing, reaching new heights every season. But with popularity comes controversy, and Apex is definitely no stranger to it. Recently, players have even begun to boycott the game to gain attention to an assortment of issues plaguing the game. Even if the No Apex August hashtag is being ignored to possibly the highest degree by the community at large, the message of players feeling like their voices aren't heard is still portrayed through its existence. Despite this, Apex still reached a record of concurrent players at the drop of Season 14. So with all this being said, is it fair to say that Apex is getting worse? Or do the stats mean more than the outspoken players' opinions? Apex Legends released on February 4th, 2019 to a wildly large and unexpected audience. Only 24 hours later, Vince Zampella, the head of Respawn Entertainment, released a statement saying that the game reached over 1 million players in only 8 hours. That's not something most games can say. But I'm pretty sure that numbers aren't the only thing to prove this, as most of us have memories of playing Apex when it first got released, even if it was just for a few games or maybe a season or two. Needless to say, its launch was astronomical, but the question of could it keep its popularity going into the next few years still was on the table. Most popular games that come out nowadays usually face either an initial wave of popularity that slowly creeps down, or a slow but substantial start that grows in popularity at varying rates until a peak has been reached where it then either falls off the radar or remains at a stable rate of players. An example of each of these are Animal Crossing New Horizons and Stardew Valley, respectively. Apex Legends ignored both of these trends, however, as it reached a record of concurrent players twice within the last year to my knowledge. Once at the release of Season 12, and a second time at the launch of Season 14. In addition to this, Apex has reached the 35th spot on the list of most popular games of all time, according to Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt, as of May 19th, 2021. This is quite a bro. Excuse me. This is quite a notable achievement when put into perspective. So it's undeniable that Apex has had a large following ever since its release, but popularity isn't necessarily a measure of quality. And as with anything popular, it has garnered a large amount of criticism, and not always, or even usually, in a constructive way. Apex has faced heavy amounts of backlash through a few of the major decisions made by Respawn in recent times. A few of these are the removal of punch boosting, the creation of a new ranked system, or the removal of barrel SMGs. Again, this is just a few of them, there's been quite a few. But is this backlash proof of a drop in game quality, or is this to be expected with a game this popular? Opinions aside, all these changes had very justifiable reasons to have happened, with the possible exception of punch boosting, but this is more because I'm still salty than anything else. Frickin' Respawn trying to take away all the frickin' fun ways moving around the map. Regardless though, just because a decision is justified doesn't mean that it's the right one to make. For example, the removal of barrel stabilizers on SMGs was done in an effort to make SMGs less effective at ranges outside of close quarters, to my knowledge. But in reality, this change is only really felt by mouse and keyboard players, as controller players don't use these guns at any range further than close range anyway. And to top this, the broken SMGs of the game, like the CAR and Volt, already were, and are even more now, most effective in the hands of controller players. Meaning that the nerf that these guns saw did absolutely nothing to the power of them and only worked to drive a wrench further in between M and key players and controller players. This is just one example of a change backfiring, but there have been many more. However, this doesn't necessarily mean that every recent change has been a bad one, much to the contrary in fact. An example of a positive change the game has encountered was the redesign of King's Canyon at the drop of Season 14. The new redesign is by no means perfect and is still KC, but it showed that the devs are willing to undo a prior change they made, shown through the reintroduction and redesign of Skulltown, now called Relic appropriately. So at the very least, this shows a positive trend of change. And even if it often comes into question, I think we can reasonably assume that the devs care for their game and want it to succeed. The problem I see with the changes within the game is the apparent disconnect between the devs and the player base. As there are a wide range of Apex players who all play the game differently, balancing can obviously be a difficult task. A good example of this is the recent ranked changes. In one corner, you have pros and streamers complaining that ranked has become too easy and boring, and in the other, you have the casual player base complaining that ranked has become way too difficult and now has more action and fighting than ever before, which is not always seen as a good thing. you can start to see how balancing the game becomes a nightmare. But this isn't a video made to whine about how hard it is to be a dev. All I'm trying to say is that there are reasons that some changes are not made or pushed back. Sometimes all we can do is be patient and hope that the next season is more enjoyable to you than the previous one. While balance is important for any game, if the game isn't fun in the first place, then the balance wouldn't matter at all. So at the end it comes down to, did you enjoy the season or not? Are you having fun or are you bored? And while there is a lot the devs can do to make the game more fun, these changes would also in the process make the game wildly imbalanced and less fun to others. So is Apex getting worse? No. It's just as good as it's always been. Opinions are going to vary heavily on every new change that comes into being. And because of this, the actual quality of the game is up to the player to decide. People are going to believe very different things all at the same time regardless of what the devs do. So if you're a controller player who loved Skulltown and the Volt SMG, then this might be your favorite season of all of them. And if you're an Emiki movement fiend who religiously uses the Wingman, then this season might be a pubs only kind of season.
That's kind of awkward.
Or maybe not. Don't let a guy on YouTube tell you what you will like and won't like. If you haven't given it a shot yet, I urge you to try out the new Apex season and everyone that comes down the line. Who knows, maybe you'll love it, maybe you'll hate it, but don't quit the game because of one bad season, or whine that the game is turning into trash because the current season doesn't match up with the previous one to you. For me personally, I've been having a tough time getting into this season and enjoying it as much as previous seasons, but I'm going to keep playing it and give myself time to warm up to it and then decide if I like it or not. Honestly, Vantage feels super fun, and winning on KC feels like winning the Olympics sometimes. However, this isn't to say that Apex has no problems as seen here with the bad server issues that's been happening recently, at least to me. In front of me? Like right in front of me. Over here.
Recharging my shields.
See my ult?
I'm dead.
I killed one. Tell me if he's pushing. What's he doing, Josh? Honestly, looking back at it though, I've been having terrible Wi-Fi recently, and I don't think this specifically is on Apex's behalf. I think this is more my behalf, but still, it's very frustrating to play when you can't even play, you know? So go out and try it, then come tell me what you think about it. I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed Season 11. Oh, Season 11, how I miss you.
Okay, cool.
Thanks to everybody who watched this video and made it this far. I had a pretty fun time making it, and I'm hoping to make more of these kinds of videos in the future. So let me know if you guys liked it or not. And if you got this far, then why not subscribe? It's just as free as Apex has always been. Hope you guys have a great day. Peace.
Somehow. Josh?
Yeah.
What is happening?